The show continues with Seiichi fighting a white-haired pretty girl rather than a twink on a crimson island floating in the sky. Seiichi is getting wrecked by this white-haired pretty boy as he tries hard to find an opportunity to counterattack. However, all of his moves are useless and he keeps getting pushed behind. While Seiichi is trying to find a move to turn the tables, the white-haired boy finds an opening in his defense and pierces him with his spear. Seiichi falls as his life starts to fade before his eyes. The white-haired boy ridicules Seiichi's hopelessness and is about to end his miserable life when Saria jumps in to defend him. She transforms into her gorilla form and pushes the white-haired boy aside. Saria activates her rage mode and starts punching the white-haired boy like crazy, but her efforts are mostly useless as the white-haired boy is too strong. He easily overpowers Saria and beats her till she is incapable of fighting anymore. Seiichi opens his eyes and notices the white-haired boy pointing his blade at Saria, which awakens the man inside his heart as he stands up to protect Saria. He picks Saria into his arms as he apologizes to her for not being able to protect her. However, Saria asks Seiichi if he would still love her, even if she was in her gorilla form. Saying this, she transforms into her gorilla form and leans forward to kiss Seiichi. At this moment, Seiichi awakens from his daydream and looks around to find that he is still in the carriage. Saria is worried that Seiichi might be sick or something and asks if he is alright. Seiichi pats her head and tells her that everything is fine as he wonders who that boy was in his dream. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster Barnabas coughs aloud to catch their attention as he informs everyone that they have approached the Barnabas Magic Academy, which excites everyone as they look out from the window to gaze upon the magnificent academy which has taught the kings of kings in the past. After a while, they arrive at the gates of the city and enter inside to find a huge bustling crowd surrounding the market. The Grandmaster Barnabas gives them a slight tour of the city which has been here for a very long time. While the group is looking at the magnificent buildings, Lulun rushes towards the food stalls. She calls out to Seiichi to try some dumplings with her. While they are laughing and exploring the city in the academy, Karen smells something and immediately realizes that Seiichi is here. Don't ask me how that works as I don't know myself. This shocks Karen's friends as they look at her as if she's a dog or something who has just found her master after a long time. Meanwhile, Seiichi's group finally arrives at the academy as the Grandmaster Barnabas takes them to his office where he explains to them about the academy. The Barnabas Magic Academy is a prestigious school of magic where nobles and royals study together to become the pillars of their nation one day. He also tells them that recently they have admitted a special group of students who have come from another world under the Kaiser Kingdom. Seiichi realizes that these must be his class fellows and becomes a bit timid, remembering about his abusive past. After informing them of the basic stuff about the academy, he designates their new roles in the academy. While Seiichi was chosen to be a teacher, Saria and Lulun would become students as they are highly talented. Meanwhile, Altria will become a special teacher who will focus on physical activities. The remaining Origa will act as maid/assistant of Seiichi, so he has some company with him throughout the company. After assigning them new roles, he is busy staring at their new attires, which make him seem like Jiraiya from Naruto. Fortunately, there is also someone like Tsunade in this world who controls his desires so he can act like a normal old man. This woman is Beatrice, who is also Barnabas's assistant. She apologizes to Seiichi for the disgusting behavior of this senile old man and gives him an earful of bashing. After taking care of the old man, she takes Seiichi to his classroom where he will be teaching a group of troublesome students. Seiichi gets frightened after hearing the word troublesome, but Beatrice assures him that they are all good children but with some peculiarity. Seiichi braces himself as he enters the classroom where he finds 4 students seated in a row who look at him as if he is some sort of prey. Seiichi realizes that this is going to be one heck of a painful task as he braces himself for his upcoming day. Meanwhile, everything is proceeding smoothly in the academy. The dark forces are suffering as their recent defeat at the hands of Seiichi has led them to be extremely denormalized. However, just like every other dark force in fiction, they are not so quick to give up as well, so they start to plan their new actions. Kraze is once again in contact with the dark magician Helios as they cook their new evil schemes. But before Kraze can do anything, he is captured by Angaria and Demilos. They boss ask Kraze to give up on his schemes as they will head to the academy themselves and deal with the remaining plan. Kraze begs them to free him, but they just laugh at his pathetic existence and move forward with their plan. Back at the academy, Seiichi looks at the problem children and can't help but fear for his future days. However, he braces himself as he greets all of them. However, one of the delinquent-looking students isn't so pleased with him and decides to bully Seiichi into leaving the class. However, his behavior is noticed by Beatrice, who just calls his name, which is enough to make the tough guy turn into a meek cat. After making the delinquent guy whose name is Agnos. Beatrice introduces Seiichi, their new teacher, as well as Saria, who will be joining their class as a student. Agnos is shocked and can't digest the fact that a brat of their age would become their new teacher. However, his crude wording makes Beatrice angry, so she smacks his head, which sends him flying back to his seat. Seiichi realizes that it's time for him to introduce himself, so he comes forward and stands in the center and introduces himself. He also introduces Origa as his assistant. After introducing himself and Origa, Seiichi asks the students to introduce themselves. The first one to volunteer is Agnos, who introduces himself to be the greatest warrior who has yet to lose any battle. Agnos shows himself in front of Saria and tries to act cool, so Saria decides to introduce herself too as she transforms back into her gorilla form, which scares all the students, including Beatrice herself. Fortunately, Seiichi covers up for her and informs everyone that Saria is just using transformation magic and that it's nothing else. After making everyone calm, Seiichi returns to the class as the second student introduces himself. He calls himself Lev and informs Seiichi that he is the youngest prince of the Kaiser Kingdom. Seiichi is surprised that even the prince studies in this academy, and on top of that he is nothing but in the bottom tier F class. After Lev, Seiichi's eyes fall onto the girl, who tries to look all cold and distant. Seiichi orders her to introduce herself, so she just tells him her name, Helen. The last student remaining is an odd one as he wears a bear mask on his face. The bear mask guy writes his name, Baird, on his whiteboard and introduces himself. However, he doesn't talk at all and only uses his writing to express himself. Seiichi is even more troubled as his future starts to look bleaker than the night sky. Meanwhile, Karen, who has smelled of Seiichi's scent, is beginning to move towards him when she accidentally stumbles into Eri, who seems to be looking for Seiichi as well. Forgetting this weird interaction, back at the F-rank class, Beatrice gives everyone the result of their precious test, which shows Seiichi the stuff that he needs to work on. Helen scores the highest marks, which is a perfect 100, while Agnos is at the bottom with 0 masks. However, Beatrice asks them to not get hyped up or disappointed, as the real test will be the physical one, which will showcase their true ability. She leaves this test to Seiichi, which makes the students very happy as they can't help but get excited to beat him up. While they are making their way to the training grounds, Agnos asks Saria about Seiichi as she seems pretty close to him. Saria tells the truth that she is Seiichi's wife, which breaks Agnos' heart as he wants to woo Saria with his strength. She also tells them about Origa, Altria, and Lulun, who all have different relationships with Seiichi. This makes Agnos even more angry as he wants to chase after Seiichi and beat him up. After a while, they arrive at the training grounds, where they are confronted by the S-rank class, whose leader is none other than the Crown Prince of the Kaiser Kingdom. The Crown Prince, Terra, is making fun of his younger brother Lev for being in the F class when his eyes fall on Saria, who seems out of this world. He immediately proposes to her, but Saria rejects him by telling him that she already has someone she loves. Terra is shaken to his core as no one has rejected him before. He once again asks her, but Saria rejects him by using the same excuse. In anger, he leaves the training grounds and he warns everyone that he will be back. After he leaves, Seiichi arrives at the training ground and apologizes to them for being late. He gets ready to face them as he asks who will challenge him first. Agnos wants to challenge him, but he is stopped by Helen, who steps out first. Seiichi promises that he won't use magic and allows them to use their full power. Helen is angry at Seiichi for holding back and immediately jumps in with her twin daggers. Seiichi is shocked to see her anger and can't understand why she would act so furious against him. Meanwhile, Angaria and Demilos are on their way to the academy as they bet with each other on who would kill most students at the academy. Angaria is sure that she will win this bet, as her magic is far more destructive and superior in terms of massacre when compared to Demilos. However, Demilos tells her that it won't be that easy for her, especially when there is a holy mage at the academy. Back at the academy, Helen, who is up against Seiichi, isn't able to land even a single hit on him. Out of frustration, she gets even more crazy and starts attacking like a beast. Seiichi realizes that this is not good for Helen, so he decides to stop her. He signals for a pause, which causes the students to mistake that he is getting afraid. Helen becomes a bit haughty as well and advises Seiichi to use his magic. Seiichi isn't so cruel to make them feel bad, so he decides to use magic. Seeing this, Helen gets serious as she locks onto Seiichi's movements. Noticing that Seiichi isn't going to make a first move, Helen decides to take matters into her own hands and uses her ultimate move. However, before her attack can even land on Seiichi, she finds herself in mid-air as she falls into Seiichi's arms. This makes Helen very embarrassed, so she starts to struggle out of his grasp. However, this struggle leads to Seiichi accidentally touching something that he wasn't supposed to and results him in getting punched in the face. The other students laugh at Seiichi for getting punched in the face, which makes poor Seiichi feel bad as he didn't even do anything. Now that Helen is out of the game, Agnos is ready to challenge Seiichi, but Lev stops him and tells him to team up to beat Seiichi. However, Agnos is angry and doesn't want to team up, but Lev is fixated on fighting as a team. This makes Seiichi think about their reports which mentioned that they always had trouble at working as a team. Seiichi allows them to pair up, which makes them stop their infighting and unite against a common enemy. Seiichi can empathize with them as he also has been at the bottom of society and was always bullied by other people around him. That's why he wants to help them by fixing their problem of not being able to use magic. This makes Seiichi remember when Grandmaster Barnabas informed him about their condition of not being able to use magic, so he decides to use his skills to check their condition. After using his skill World Vision, Seiichi discovers that they have chains that forbid them from utilizing mana. Seiichi knows that if he wants to help them, he needs to break off these chains first. However, to break these chains he needs to find a skill at first. Thinking of liberation, he is reminded of the time in Season 1 when he used President Lincoln's skill to free Origa from her servant collar. However, that skill doesn't work, so Seiichi thinks of something else when he creates a new skill by the name of a teacher who cares for his students and can't see them in a hopeless situation, so when a teacher wants his students to succeed, then nothing in this world can stop them and blah blah blah. This skill with a stupid long name allows Seiichi to liberate his students from the chains that bind them from using the precious mana of this world. All four of them realize that there is something blooming inside their bodies and start stretching, which breaks off their chains. After that, they are easily able to feel and use magic. Helen uses fire magic. Meanwhile, Baird summons stone pillars from the ground. Lev uses waterfall magic that falls on his head, but despite that, he feels like the happiest man in the world. Even Agnos, who seems the most stupid, can use basic fire magic, although that burns his precious hair. After trying out their magic, they come to stand before Seiichi as they thank him for breaking them free from their chains and express their ultimate gratitude. After that, they promise him that they will do their best to train in magic and not ruin the name of their teacher Beatrice. At the cafeteria, Seiichi is having lunch with his family members when suddenly Karen appears out of nowhere and finds Seiichi through his unique smell. She immediately runs to hug him, which shocks everyone surrounding them. While this is all happening, a calamity is approaching their academy as the demonic Anguria and Demulos have finally made their way to the academy gates. Anguria tries to use her magic to open the gates, but they are quite sturdy, so she has no option but to enchant the guards and have them open the gates. Back at the academy, everyone is shocked after seeing Karen suddenly hug Seiichi like this out of nowhere. While everyone is just looking at them with astonished expressions, Altria is fuming from her ears. She walks towards Seiichi as she asks him about this in a terrifying tone. It was at this moment that Seiichi realized that he messed up. Without giving him a chance to explain, she starts beating him with her heavy fists. Poor Seiichi takes the abuse without stopping her till eventually Beatrice isn't able to watch anymore and frees Seiichi from this wild woman. Because Seiichi isn't in any position to introduce Karen to them, Altria asks about Karen on her own. Karen answers that she is a childhood friend of Seiichi and starts showing her dominance over them. However, Altria and the others aren't easily overpowered as they reveal their own identities as well. Their identities are easily able to overpower Karen's status as Seiichi's childhood friend, but despite this, she still doesn't give up and keeps on fighting. Seeing this, Saria has no option but to reveal herself as she tells Karen that she is the wife of Seiichi. After hearing this, Karen is blown away and isn't able to stand anymore. Seiichi quickly runs towards her and grabs her. Karen tells Seiichi that she's happy that he has finally moved on with his life and wishes him good luck for his future. Seiichi begs Karen to open her eyes and starts making a scene. Beatrice, who has been watching them play like children, finally loses her control and asks them to go and do this somewhere else. After a while, they all head to a private room to talk about various things. It's been quite some time since they have icegate to this world, so both Seiichi and Karen have a lot of things to talk about. Karen talks about Seiichi's past as she tells everyone how Seiichi protected her when she was being bullied by everyone for being a tomboy. Ever since that day, Karen admired Seiichi for being a gentleman and wanted to help him fight against bullies, but she never got the courage to do it. After hearing her story, everyone gets emotional. It is at this moment that Seiichi decides to reveal his true ugly self to everyone. He turns off his transformation and shows his fat, ugly, smelly appearance to them. He tells them that his true self isn't the person they all admire and think of him to be, but rather an ugly loser who is so fat and smelly that even animals don't want him to be close to them. He expected everyone to be turned off by his appearance and leave him, but instead, he receives the same love from them. This makes him feel relaxed and glad that he showed them his true self, so he reverts to his new form without any guilt. Karen can't help but smile when she sees that Seiichi has finally found the people who love him. So that's why she decides to leave him alone, as she was never worthy of him. Seiichi tries to stop her, but Karen tells him that being with her will only bring him more trouble as she belongs to the Kaiser Kingdom now and that they have been at odds with each other. After leaving him behind, Karen is returning to the dorm room when Origa notices the bracelet on her hand and tells Seiichi that it's a servant band. Seiichi stops Karen and asks her where she got this band from. Karen informs him that she got this from the Kaiser Kingdom, who told them that it will help them grow faster and unlock more skills. Hearing the truth, Seiichi feels extremely angry and goes into his enraged evil mode. The power surge from him breaks Karen's band as it continues to spread far and beyond till eventually, the whole world feels his power. The power surge even breaks all the servant bands in the academy. Meanwhile, this is all going on inside Seiichi's head. An evil entity tries to consume him, but fortunately, Seiichi is pulled from his dream by Saria's voice. Seiichi doesn't realize what has happened when he was gone, but he notices Karen on the ground, so he immediately runs after her and finds her in pain. Seiichi tells Karen about the band, which makes her feel afraid as to what would have happened if Seiichi didn't break it. Seeing this, Karen decides to join Seiichi's group as his big sister. While they are all goofing around, Eri is watching them from the side and smiles as she is glad that Seiichi has finally found happiness. Meanwhile, Angeria and Demilos are having lunch at a shop on the outskirts when suddenly, Helio's reflection appears in the coffee that they are drinking. He tells them about the servant collars being broken by that power surge. However, they both assure him that it is fine as they are already at the academy. They also tell him that the power surge wasn't that bad as it only accelerated the resurrection of the Demon King. While the demonic fiends of the dark forces are plunging their teeth into the academy, our hero is busy teaching his students who are worried about the upcoming class competition with the S class. They don't want to lose to those arrogant idiots, so they request Seiichi to give them special training so they can defeat their rival. Seiichi accepts their request and promises to make them strong enough to win the upcoming class competition. Back to the dark forces, Angeria and Demilos are enjoying themselves as they head to different restaurants and try different foods. Meanwhile, Demilos is busy stuffing his mouth with all the food, and Angeria is getting anxious about their attack at the academy. However, Demilos assures her that nothing will go wrong and that they need to fill their stomachs if they want to fight later on. Saying this, he orders 2 parfaits and big scoops of ice cream to wash down everything that he ate just now. At the academy's training grounds, Seiichi stands in front of his 4 students as he orders them to attack him with their strongest moves. All 4 of them nod as they spread out and start attacking Seiichi. Baird puts his hand on the ground as he creates a cage made out of rock around Seiichi. Taking advantage of Seiichi's imprisonment, the group starts unleashing their magic on him. However, Seiichi can easily deflect it with his magic barrier, but a problem occurs while casting the magic and he isn't able to stop the attack perfectly. Seiichi realizes that it's the second time this has happened and starts to worry if there's a bug in the system or something. While the group is taking a short break to catch their breath, Terra and his minions arrive at the scenes to make life difficult for Class F. Terra mocks them for training as it would result in nothing but a failure as they are against the strongest S class. However, Agnos and the others assure him that the one losing will be him, not them. Terra is surprised to see their confidence and doesn't know what made them so sure of their victory. He is quite amused by it and decides to test their strength, but Agnos rejects it as they are busy training with Seiichi. Hearing Seiichi's name reminds Terra of Saria's rejection, so he looks towards Seiichi and challenges him. This angers Helen, who challenges him instead, but she is stopped by the group, who ask her to calm down. Terra recognizes Helen to be from a weak kingdom who will soon fall under the Kaiser Kingdom's rule and starts to mock her. This makes Helen even more angry, but the group continues holding her back till Terra eventually leaves and decides to settle this at the class competition once and for all. After Terra leaves, Helen comes to Seiichi and begs him to make them strong. Seiichi is shocked as he didn't expect Helen to call him a teacher, much rather ask for his help. Seeing this, Seiichi is even more motivated and decides to train them even harder. Time passes by as the group continues to train rigorously under Seiichi's eyes until it's eventually the last night before the class competition. While the group is busy preparing for tomorrow's competition, Angeria, on the other hand, is shopping with Demilos as she keeps on choosing different outfits. She is showing her outfit to Demilos when suddenly a white-haired boy appears out of nowhere and frightens them. He orders them to hurry up or else he will make sure they never see the light of the sun ever again. After warning them, the boy disappears without even mentioning his identity, but it is still enough to make the once carefree Demilos stand straight in fear. The long night of waiting eventually passes by as the stage is set for both classes to fight. Most of the students are present at the arena as they cheer for their favorite teams. After a small fireworks show, Barnabas explains the rules to both parties and asks them to begin. However, just then he is captured by magic and falls. The whole arena gets frightened as the demonic fiends finally enter the stage. They announce to everyone their plan to massacre everyone here so they can finally resurrect the Demon King. Angeria places a barrier so the students can't escape, and those who try to break the barrier end up being massacred by their spells. Terra, who has been watching this all happen, finally realizes that he needs to act before it's too late and attacks Angeria with his lightning magic, but sadly his efforts are futile and his attacks are transferred back to him. Angeria even charms his minions into attacking him, and all of this happens so quickly that Terra doesn't even know what's going on anymore. The Class F students realize that this is not working anymore, so they decide to act too as they team up with Tara despite the hatred between them and act against the common enemy. At first, their strategy works as they can break Angaria's mask. However, that only serves to be their mistake, as Angaria is much stronger without her mask and easily defeats everyone. Her ability Hellfire burns everything in its path and is about to consume Helen, but Beatrice steps in to save her and also put an end to Angaria's shenanigans. Angaria is surprised to find someone like Beatrice who can stop her and gets excited. At first, she tests Beatrice by using casual attacks, but after seeing Beatrice take them on without much difficulty, Angaria realizes that she might be a tough opponent to contend with. Beatrice also gets serious and starts attacking Angaria, who finds herself at a disadvantage. This makes her very angry, so she decides to make this fight a bit more fun. She heads close to Agnos and uses the charm magic to make him fight against his beloved teacher. Beatrice is shocked as she didn't expect her to control Agnos like this. Angaria manipulates Agnos into attacking Beatrice, who just defends herself without attacking back. No matter what happens, Beatrice is a kind teacher who isn't willing to harm her students. Seeing her kindness makes Angaria even more angry, so she decides to spice up things. She orders Agnos to speak to his heart, which results in him telling Beatrice that they got to use magic only due to Seiichi rather than her. This breaks Beatrice's spirit as she lets her guard down. Seeing this, Angaria orders Agnos to punch Beatrice in the face. Agnos obliges to her order and punches Beatrice right in the face. However, Beatrice isn't angry at him and instead tries to awaken him. Helen and the others try to wake him up as well, and after a lot of effort, they finally manage to make him stop. Angaria is shocked to see someone resist her magic and orders Agnos again, but this causes the mask to break as Agnos gets freed from the charm. Beatrice, who has been calm since the start, finally gets angry and decides to punish Angaria and teach her a lesson. She jumps into the air and kicks her right in the face, defeating her instantly. After defeating Angaria, the group celebrates their victory as Agnos apologizes to Beatrice for acting against her, but Beatrice doesn't hold it against him as he is being controlled. Demilos, who has been just watching, decides to step out. However, everyone ignores him, so he gets angry and starts torturing Barnabas to gain everyone's attention. After getting their attention, he introduces himself as a demonic fiend and warns them of what's going to happen. Just then, Angaria, who has been lying on the ground, opens her mouth and asks him to give some of his energy to her so she can fight with him. However, Demilos rejects by saying that she isn't a true demonic fiend, as she doesn't have the mark that is gained after absorbing some power from the Demon King. Angaria is shocked and can't believe that everything she has done was for nothing, and in despair she is consumed by the demonic eye hanging above their heads. After taking care of Angaria, Demilos decides to finish this task and go home to eat his favorite foods. However, Beatrice opposes him and stops him from harming anyone. This makes him angry, so he attacks her. Beatrice tries to defend, but his attacks are much stronger than Angaria. Beatrice gets beaten up badly, but she still stands up to protect her students. Seeing this, Demilos wonders what would happen if he were to harm her students before her eyes. This makes Beatrice extremely angry as she takes off her external outfit and decides to go all out. She summons a strong tornado made up of wind magic and slams it into Demilos. However, Demilos is barely injured. This makes Beatrice feel despair as she realizes that she can't even defend her students. Despite all the hopelessness, she still chooses to stand before her students and protect them. Demilos is astounded by her courage and decides to send her off, but fortunately, Seiichi manages to come on time to stop him. Demilos is shocked to see this man grab his hand like it was nothing. He orders Seiichi to let go of his arm as he threatens to attack him with his other hand. But before his attack can even reach Seiichi, he has already teleported towards the students and leaves Beatrice in their care. He asks Saria and others to take care of Beatrice. As he walks towards Demilos in anger, he looks around himself only to find everyone injured and in despair. His rage once again consumes him and his eyes turn red like a monster. Demilos gets scared of his eyes and his aura and decides to summon all of his power to attack Seiichi with the rain of magic swords. However, Seiichi dodges each attack without much effort as he finally arrives in front of Demilos and gives him an uppercut which sends him straight into the demonic eye, destroying it as well. Soon the barriers disappear as well as magic binding on Barnabas. All of the students thank Seiichi, but they are angry at him for being so late. They ask Seiichi where he was while they were fighting for their lives, and he answers that he was fighting a great enemy. Meanwhile, at the Dark Forces headquarters, a mysterious man called Eudes summons the remaining demonic fiends and informs them about the unfortunate defeats of Demilos and Angaria at the hands of the Academy. However, there isn't much of a reaction from the group, which isn't surprising as they all are cruel, bloody killers who live their lives in the shadows of death. Eudes requests all of them to help him solve the problem and summon His Majesty, the Demon Lord, back to this world. Back at the Academy, while everyone is celebrating Seiichi's victory, Demilos, who is about to disappear, decides to bring Seiichi to hell alongside him. He shoots a piercing beam towards Seiichi, but before it can hit Seiichi, Eri jumps in to save him. However, the beam pierces both of them, leaving both flat on the ground. Everyone gets shocked and tries to wake Seiichi up, but he doesn't move at all. While everyone is crying due to their unfortunate death, Seiichi and Eri find themselves in the netherworld where a voice informs them that they are dead. Seiichi gets shocked and is about to scream when he remembers that he is the main character. The voice praises him for his strong intuition and informs him that when a main character dies in an anime, the anime ends immediately. However, since the anime is in mid-production, they cannot afford to make him die, so they will give him a chance to resurrect himself. The voice points towards a giant gate in the distance and informs them that it is the gate of life, and after crossing it, they will find themselves in their old bodies once again. After the voice explains the function of the gate, Seiichi asks if there must be some catch as well. The voice laughs at it and praises Seiichi for being a clever boy and informs him that not everyone can get access to the gate, as they have to clear some tests before getting access to the gate. After explaining it, the voice brings them to their first test, which is a game of truth and false. In a pool, Eri is tied up with her mouth shut with a tape, and Seiichi is on a jet ski as he is asked about a question which he has to answer in either true or false. The first question is whether Eri loved him when she met him for the first time. Seiichi gets panicked as he doesn't even remember meeting Eri. However, as the main character, he believes that she must have fallen in love with him due to his plot armor or something, so he decides to bet his life on the truth. Fortunately, the answer is correct and they are saved. The voice congratulates Seiichi and Eri for passing the first test and decides to show them the scene where they met for the first time. In a flashback, Eri, who is still in middle school, is a nerdy-looking girl whom no one likes. She has no friends at school and always eats her lunch alone on the school rooftop. It's one of those days where Eri is eating her lunch alone when Seiichi comes to the school rooftop as well and decides to sit beside her to have his lunch. He asks Eri as to why she is always alone, because he can't understand why she would be alone when she doesn't even get bullied by other students like himself. Eri answers that she isn't pretty, so no one likes to talk to her. Seiichi is surprised as he answers that she isn't ugly and that she looks quite lovely. This makes the strings of her heart tug as love blossoms in her heart for the first time. So this is how Eri fell in love with a fat ugly loser like Seiichi. After the flashback, Seiichi finally remembers her and is surprised that she is in love with him. However, that is a thing of the past now, and now they are both dead, stuck in the netherworld. The voice once again congratulates them for passing the first test and informs them that the next round will be the final test, while Seiichi and Eri are making their way to the final test. Back in the real world, King Ranger is at his royal court accompanied by the guild master and the guild receptionist as usual. While they are both busy with their odd activities, he informs them of the alliance with the Demon King's daughter and how it's progressing very well. Meanwhile, in the Demon Realm, the Demon King's daughter, Lucia, informs her loyal subjects about the alliance with the Wimberg Kingdom and how progressing with it will benefit the rest of the Demon Realm. Her loyal subjects agree with her as they give her their full support. Lucia is happy to receive their support and asks if they have any opinions. Back in the netherworld, Seiichi and Eri finally arrive at the final stage where they are confronted by the ancestors of the Rose Clan. For those who don't remember, they are ancestors of those three weird guys from the guild who wanted to turn Seiichi into their kind in Season 1. Back to the test, Seiichi and Eri have to defend themselves from their fingers and defeat them or run to the gate. However, the Rose Clan ancestors are very fast and don't give them any chance to escape, so Eri and Seiichi have no choice but to confront them. The two smaller ones are defeated by Eri, but the big one is very strong and even Seiichi's fingers aren't able to pierce him. The game of cat and mouse continues for a while till Seiichi is finally fed up and decides to get serious. However, Seiichi realizes that he is no match for this big guy in terms of fingers, so he decides to use his fists, which are easily able to overpower him. After escaping the group of three weirdos, they arrive at the Gate of Life, where the voice congratulates them for passing and wishes them good luck. Just when Seiichi steps into the gate, the voice reminds Seiichi to look at his stats before it disappears. Back in the real world, Seiichi and Eri wake up, which makes everyone very happy. However, just then Louise comes into the arena gravely injured as she falls. Seiichi immediately catches her, but she is unconscious. Meanwhile, Eri, who always had that sweet smile on her face, now smiles with a weird smirk. Back at the Wimberg Kingdom, King Ranger deploys Louise to go to the Barnabas Magic Academy and bring back Seiichi as the summit date of the Demon Realm, and the Wimberg Kingdom alliance is getting closer. Louise accepts the task and pledges to bring Seiichi back on time and heads off. While the strongest warrior of the Wimberg Kingdom is out on a mission, the guild is recruiting new members before the summit. The first contender is a muscular hot man whom one of the Rose Clan's weirdos likes. He jumps on the stage to inspect him, but one of his spikes accidentally pierces the man, causing him to deflate like a balloon. Afterward, all the other contenders are not worth recruiting till eventually, a guy with a rose appears on the stage. The man with the pacifier is the first person to test him as he throws a bottle of milk at him. The man catches the bottle and carefully inspects the temperature and the color before eventually tasting it. He rates the milk to be the finest and throws back the bottle to the man with a pacifier. The Rose Clan weirdo finds him quite handsome and jumps on the stage to test him. While he is testing him, the guildmaster realizes that this new guy is very muscular and decides to test his body posing skills. The man is an expert at this and easily wins his vote as well. With 3 votes, the man is recruited into the guild and brought back with them. Meanwhile, in the Kaiser Kingdom, the swordmaster Zacchia is heartbroken after seeing the current state of the nation and wishes to improve it. However, with the previous emperor being extremely sick, he has no option but to do everything on his own. However, he is lost and doesn't know what to do, so he is mindlessly scrolling through the royal palace when he discovers the dark magician Helios talking to Craze with his magic orb. Craze is angered by the betrayal and immediately attacks Helios. However, this was only Helios's projection. Meanwhile, his real body is extremely far away. He assures Zacchia that no matter what he does, nothing will change and the despair of this kingdom will only fasten the resurrection of the Demon King. Zacchia remembers his time with the old emperor who told him to grab hold of this nation if something were to happen and he was not there with him. He also allows him to seek other nations for help as it would only make them stronger against the enemy. Zacchia follows the old emperor's advice, immediately grabs his horse and heads to the nearby nation to seek help. But on his way, he is besieged by the white-haired boy who is here to stop him. Zacchia attacks the boy with his sword, but the boy is too fast and easily dodges the attack. Zacchia is shaken by his strength and becomes fearful. However, he can't allow himself to disappoint the previous emperor, so he continues to hold on and keep fighting against the white-haired boy. But unfortunately, the boy is too strong and easily overpowers him. However, he is also getting bored and decides to end this fight, so he summons dark-looking magic and attacks Zacchia with it. The dark magic instantly melts the steel armor on Zacchia and even leaves purplish-black spots on his body. The boy is surprised by his tenacity and attacks him once again, and this time even breaks his sword. Zacchia falls as he remembers that this sword was gifted to him by the previous emperor when he became the captain of the royal guards. Zacchia becomes enraged, so he uses all of his remaining strength to summon the holy sword and attacks the white-haired boy with it. However, this is still nothing against the boy and he easily blocks it. He is getting bored, so he decides to finish this when suddenly out of nowhere, Louise appears to save him. However, even Louise isn't able to fight against the boy and gets badly beaten up. The white-haired boy is getting rather annoyed by these flies, so he summons a giant orb of that black magic and attacks Louise, but Zacchia uses his body to defend her and ends up getting cursed by that magic. The boy is reminded of a flashback which leaves a distaste in his mouth, so he leaves them alone. Zacchia leaves everything in Louise's hand before finally going to sleep. Louise, who has been sitting with Seiichi in the carriage, tells him that this was everything that happened in the past few days. Seiichi realizes that they should hurry up to the kingdom as it's getting way too dangerous for them to leave things alone. Back at the Wimberg Kingdom, the Demon King's daughter arrives with her loyal commanders. The King Ranzerf personally welcomes Lucia and brings her back to the royal palace. There they end up fighting over small things and are about to end the alliance when the recruit of the guild reminds them that hate begets only more hate till it eventually consumes everything in its path. After hearing the words of wisdom from this weird guy, everyone hugs each other and starts their alliance once again. At that same time, Louise finally arrives back with Seiichi and Saria, and in front of them, the kind Ranzerf signs the alliance with the Demon Realm's Lucia. Back at the academy, just after Seiichi left with Louise to the Wimberg Kingdom, Eri and Karen decided to go back to their academy dorm room. On their way, Karen notices something different but can't point at anything, so she leaves it. Eri goes on her separate way while Karen heads to her room. Karen was correct in her suspicion, as Eri is not the real Eri but Jimpel, the doppelganger, who is at the top of the 4 demonic fiends. Jimpel took the shape of Eri while putting her aside to get close to Seiichi and learn more about his family so he could drive him into despair. He starts his mission by taking care of Seiichi's students. So he heads toward Lev, Agnos, and Baird and attacks them without giving a warning. All 3 of them are shocked and don't understand why Eri is attacking them. Jimpel notices that fighting in Eri's shape isn't easy, so he transforms into Saria, who later transforms into her gorilla form and wreaks havoc upon the 3 poor fellas. After beating them up, Jimpel leaves them alone as he wants to execute them later in front of Seiichi. Now that his students are out, Jimpel heads towards Seiichi's family, and the first target is Lulun, who is busy eating her meatballs at a desk. Jimpel approaches her in his Eri form and tries to sneak attack her from behind. However, he is caught by Lulun, who thinks that he was just after her food. Jimpel realizes that it's no good to make her angry over food, so he tells her that he wasn't stealing her food or anything. He sits beside her as he looks for an opportunity when Lulun notices him and wonders if he is hungry. She offers him half of her meatball, which makes him cry as no one has truly shared their food with him. Lulun also calls him one of her dear friends and thanks him for saving Seiichi's life. Jimpel has never had friends in his life, so he gets emotional and runs away from her in fear that he will start crying. He decides to change his target and heads after Origa in Lulun's form. He wants to attack her, but Origa instead gives him an umbrella as it's raining. Jimpel is once again reminded of his past when he was bullied by other kids who even broke his umbrella. Once again he is overcome by emotions and runs away. Meanwhile, Seiichi and Saria are on a journey when Saria notices the white-haired boy looking all gloomy as he sits alone by himself. Saria approaches the boy as he looks towards her and mistakes her for someone that he has met in the past. However, he quickly comes back to his senses and tells her that it's nothing. He heads towards Seiichi and asks if he is happy. Before Seiichi can answer, Saria answers on his behalf and tells him that he is very happy. The boy can't help but get jealous as he leaves without saying much. This time, he decides to change his target once again and chooses Altria. He finds Altria in a hallway and approaches her in Seiichi's form. He walks towards her and greets her, which makes her shocked as she asks him why he is here so soon and asks what happened at the Wimberg Kingdom. Jimpel answers that he just came back for her and asks if he can hug her. Altria becomes embarrassed and accidentally punches him for being too straightforward. Jimpel is shocked as to why she would punch him when Altria runs towards him and starts to apologize as she tells him that it was too sudden and that he can hug her if he wants to. She also tells him that she loves her, which makes his heart flutter as no one has ever said such words to him. However, he hesitates to hug her, so he ends up getting punched again. Jimpel, who has just found out that human relationships aren't that bad, decides to stay in Seiichi's form and inspect why everyone loves him so much. It turns out to be much more fun than he expected and spends the whole week with them. One day, he is having lunch with them when suddenly an ogre attacks them, but he gets frightened by Jimpel and decides to leave. Karen, who is with them, discovers his identity as he smells different from Seiichi. However, even after being discovered, he doesn't hurt them and just leaves. Barnabas heaves a sigh of relief as a monster like him could have easily defeated them, but instead changed his heart and decided to become good once again. Jimpel is standing on a cliff overlooking the academy when suddenly a hooded figure appears before him. Jimpel tells the figure that he is going to leave the Dark Force, but the figure doesn't give him a chance and ends him before he can leave. Back in Seiichi, he is sitting with Saria in a carriage when he can't help but think of that white-haired boy. He questions himself whether he has seen him somewhere before or not. Back at the Wimberg Kingdom, the recruit, Vitter, turns out to be one of the demonic fiends. He infiltrated the Wimberg Kingdom to assassinate the King Rangers, but he doesn't want to end things so quickly. After his observation, he found out that the people of this kingdom like the guild very much, so he decided to join it. Now that he knows about the important guild members, he decides that it's time for him to take action. While everyone is getting drunk at the guild tavern, the man with a pacifier is admiring the beauty of the night sky when suddenly someone appears behind him, and the next morning he is found dead in his room. The guild receptionist checks his pulse and finds that he is still alive, but the guild master and Vitter are already busy investigating the scene. They go through all the evidence one by one and deduce when the incident took place and who did it. Vitter assures them that this wasn't the work of the Dark Forces, so they move on with their next suspects. One by one, they go through each suspect but can't find anyone truly worthy of suspicion, so in the end they can only bury him. While they are standing on the man with a pacifier grave, they can't help but feel remorse for this nameless character, which won't even appear that much in the newer episodes. Just when they are about to leave, the man with the pacifier appears out from his grave, which makes everyone think that he has turned into a zombie, so the guild receptionist has to inform them that he was always alive and never died. The man with the pacifier informs them that he was admiring the night sky when he slipped on one of the bottles and fell. He was so tired that he couldn't find the motivation to move, so he decided to just sleep on the floor. After learning of the incident, everyone leaves, but the guild master still thanks Vitter, who helped him in this case. At night, the guild receptionist is heading back to the guild when she is suddenly stopped by Vitter. The guild receptionist tells Victor that she already knows that he is suspicious, so it's better if he reveals himself as it would give him more screen time. Vitter properly introduces himself as the priest of the demonic fiends and informs the guild receptionist that he will be the one to kill them all. However, before he can do anything, the guild master arrives on the scene and saves the guild receptionist. In anger from the betrayal, he punches Vitter, which throws him outside of the city to a deserted place. The guild master also flies off there to have a proper man-to-man fight with Vitter. Victor and the guild master exchange one punch after another. They both are getting tired, so they decide to end this as Vitter transforms into his peak muscle form and starts beating the crap out of the guild master. However, the guild master uses the power of friendship to defeat Victor. He leaves after realizing that to gain strength, he needs to find friends. He is heading back when Yudis teleports in front of him and asks Vitter if he lost. Vitter answers that he indeed lost and that he will gain strength and challenge the guild master once again. However, Eudes informs him that there will be no next time and uses his skill to end him right there. In a field of flowers, the white-haired boy is reminded of a memory in which he gifted a hair clip made from flowers to his favorite teacher at the school. That red-haired teacher resembled a lot like Saria and called him Distra out of adoration. The boy immediately cancels his memory and in anger destroys the whole field of the flowers which his teacher very much loved. Back at the academy, Barnabas tells Seiichi that those who have eaten fruits of evolution will be up against the Demon King at some time in the future. To explain it better, he first informs Seiichi about the origins of these fruits of evolution so he can understand everything with his peanut-sized brain. Long ago, when the gods had just created the world, a god decided to rebel against the other gods, which led to a great war that destroyed most of the world. After the gods sealed that rebellious god, all the evil energy accumulated into the world and gave birth to the great devil. The great devil created the fruits of evolution so one day, that rebellious god will be finally free and will take his revenge. After explaining the story, he comes back to the white-haired boy whom he calls Distra. Back in the days, when Barnabas was still not that old, he and that red-haired teacher, Rivera, were in a broken town where they found Distra, who was taken back by his emotions and wanted to curse the gods and destroy the whole world after his parents were killed. However, Rivers hugged him and took care of him so he wouldn't go astray. They brought Distra to the academy where he became one of the students and grew fond of Rivera, who was quite odd and kind to everyone. Life was going very well, till one day, the academy was attacked by fiery monsters which took the life of everyone close to him once again. Even his favorite teacher and the love of his life died protecting him. Overcome with grief and sorrow, Distra signed the pact with the devil and gained the power to destroy the world after eating the fruit of evolution. Using that power, he became one of the demonic fiends and started working for the great devil. Just when Barnabas finishes his story, the academy is attacked by Distra, who is here to bring Seiichi and Saria with him. However, Barnabas tries to stop him and even ends up self-destructing, but even then it's a failure and he isn't able to protect Seiichi. Distra teleports Seiichi and Saria to the Crimson World, which is also the domain of the Great Evil. There, Distra challenges Seiichi and fights him. Seiichi, who has lost control of his skills, is nowhere close to his strength and gets beaten up miserably. While they are fighting, Eudes kneels in front of the Great Devil and laughs aloud as the time is near for him to come step into this world once again. Saria jumps in to save Seiichi from the hands of Distra as everything proceeds just like the dream Seiichi dreamt of at the start of this season. Saria dies in Seiichi's arm after being pierced by Distra's weapon. After losing Saria, Seiichi has nothing left to lose, so his anger transforms into rage, which transforms into wrath as he can't wait to destroy this world. The fruit of evolution inside Seiichi's body bursts from his emotions and starts to germinate the birth of the great evil inside Seiichi's body. This makes Distra very happy, as he always believed that Seiichi was the same as him. Meanwhile, all of this is happening. Seiichi finds himself in a blank space where he goes through all the memories that he experienced in this world. He believes that he is dead and that it's just his life flashing before his eyes, but Distra tells him that this is not his memories, as he is just a fat, ugly loser and everything that happened in this world was just fake. He asks Seiichi to come join him in the destruction of this world, but Seiichi stops as he tells him that no matter how evil the world is, as long as there is a bit of kindness, it's a world worth living in. He tells Distra that he can understand people because he has gone through pain, so that's why he will always continue to be kind and never hurt anyone. The fruit of evolution in his body goes under a mysterious change and transforms into a fruit of love instead. All of Seiichi's skills become the power of love, which he uses to bring all those who suffered due to the plot of Distra to revive the great devil. Distra realizes that he was wrong, so he decides to end himself so he can visit Rivera in the next world. Saria, who has also been revived, comes up to Seiichi and tells him that he is the best husband in the world and transforms into gorilla and hugs him. She then puts him on his shoulders and takes him to the academy where Seiichi greets everyone, even Barnabas, who has also been revived. Everyone goes on with their lives as Vitter joins the guild officially once again and Jimpel becomes a teacher at the academy. Distra is even able to meet Rivera in the afterlife, which puts him at peace. While everyone is happy, in a certain corner of the world, Eudes, who has gained the power of the great evil, sits on his throne as he prepares his next big move. Will he be able to resurrect the great devil, or would he succumb to the power of the plot armor in the hands of Seiichi? That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.